as you can see. It's chain link. In fact, I'll take a look at Solana first. Here was Solana when it launched, and I've marked out the all-time highs, right? All-time high obviously from launch. What happens when it breaks it? First time it wicked it and had a deep sell-off. But this is not equivalent to Injective, right? Because Injective launched a long time ago. But then it flips the all-time high and runs hard. Sets a new all-time high. This is a bit more like it now, okay? It sets an all-time high, comes all the way down as a deep retracement into a bearish phase, rallies up, and boom, away it goes. Broke out, never came back. Then it sets another one in April, May 2021. Big sell-off into the bear market, comes all the way up, boom, breaks out, never looks back. The vast majority of all-time high breakouts in early stage bull, and even this one wasn't early stage, this was late stage bull. Don't retest, don't come back, don't, outside anything over a daily basis. They just run higher. Because why is Injective hitting all-time high whenever other coins are nowhere near it? It's a statement to the market. Right? Look where Solana is in relation to its all-time high. But Injective's at all-time high. Back the winners. Back the fastest horse. So, and if you look at Link, did I already do Link? Am I going crazy? Here was Link breaking out of its first base and all-time high. It initially came up to it and sold off, and then blasted off. So either there is a chance that there'll be some sell-off on Injective from hitting the all-time high first time, but it's not the top, right? It's at best going to be a trap, and then it will blast much, much higher than you think. Right? That's the most probable outcome. Much higher than you think. I should do the full chart, right? It hasn't come all this way to just top now and go down forever. It's positioning itself to be one of the best performers of next cycle. And Celestia the same. You have to zoom out and think, this is what Link did after all that. Look what Solana did. Look what Solana did. Look what Link did. Look what Luna did. Any of these crazy ones, you can look at Luna, as they're also a jump token. You have to go way back to these areas. 2020, right? Had its initial big run up, right? So most of this on Luna was going from very small market cap. So actually, let me get the market cap of Luna. Oh, that's the fucking Luna Classic. What was the market cap like back in 2020? 2019 into 2020, it was 5 million. Into late 2020, 10, 20 million. Yeah, Luna was so small. What a shame. So none of that's ever going to happen. It's more like here, right? All-time high breakouts lead to continuation. Look at all the gaps that were left here. It goes into this crazy, choppy, shitty, messy phase for several months, right? That can be what you see. It's not going to look pretty or necessarily go straight up in a line, but it does eventually grind its way even higher. Look at that fucking I'm not saying any of this happens to Injective. I'm just saying the point I'm trying to make is all-time high breakouts. You shouldn't be looking to sell or short. You should be looking for opportunities. And see that after the all-time high breakout, Luna held its daily trend, right? The daily trend bands held all the way to there. If you look at Link, all-time high break. And Solana's probably the cleanest of all of them. Link held its daily bands all the way. So if Injective sells off here, you want to see it hold the daily bands. Of course, going below them is ideal, as long as the bands don't cross, gets back above. If you do get a pullback, that's your perfect time to get in on Injective. If it doesn't give a pullback, it will probably give a touch of the bands at some point in a consolidation. That's your next best time. Now, this is from a trading perspective, because something like this will happen after. But the market knows this, Jump knows this, everybody knows this. So the incentive is to push Injective as high as possible, because when that inevitable 50% pullback comes, there's no point it coming from here, because that just wrecks the chart. Now, of course, that can happen. Market forces might dictate that. But I think that this trend is just getting going. We've kind of had one leg up, second leg up. We're in the third leg, which is the most violent often. And I think it's going to just grind and smash to wherever it's going to, $40, and then have its significant correction all the way back down to this level, probably there, right? Or maybe just back to all-time high retest, who knows? I just think that when parabolic price action gets going, it goes much, much harder. Celestia, same thing. I think Celestia can go to $20 before eventually coming back to 10. You want to look out into the future a little bit with these and say, all right, this base that we've set right here is quite likely to be support on a retest later on, right? Of course, potentially it could be this as well, one or the other. Depends how high it goes. There's going to be a 50% drawdown at some point, okay? So 50% would be there. And if you had 50% into here, right? So if we topped out somewhere where we are now, we'd drop back to about $5, $6. If it can blow off top and run all the way up to 20, then you'd be looking at to drop back into here. If it drops out from here, you're looking at to drop into there, right? So I say this because a lot of people have missed Injective. They've missed Celestia, and then they see them at all-time highs, and they think, well, it's too late to get on board. It's not. If ever you want to be buying a project, it's when it makes new all-time highs, because it's in price discovery. It can go anywhere. There's no resistance. There's zero resistance. And it becomes a market cap game then, in the eyes of traders. So, for example, back when Link was on its peak run, it got as high as the top 10. This doesn't show correctly exactly right. It shows it a day after its peak. But Link's peak was at $5.10 in 2019 on the 2019 pump, which was about 2 billion or 1.8 billion, which had it up here, close to the top 10, right? And that was Link's first big move. And everyone thought that was Link done, which is hilarious, right? Because Link ended up obviously going much higher than that. People thought Link was done at 1 point whatever billion. If you look at the market cap, you go back here, right? This was 2019. That was when it reached 1.4 billion and people thought it was done. It ended up going to 22 billion at the peak. And right now, Injective is 2.1 and Celestia is 1.7 billion. And we're in a bigger market, remember? The whole market has grown since then. Link hit 1.4 in 2019. That was before any money printing. That was before we had things going to 80, 90 billion market caps. That was before Bitcoin hit $1 trillion. That was when Bitcoin was still at like 10K, right? So everything is 2 or 3x bigger in potential. So for Injective to be the Link of this cycle, it would need to go at least, in my opinion, to 4 billion. At least, which is double from here. The market's 3 times bigger. Bitcoin's all-time high in 2020 was 20K. All-time high in 2021 was 60K plus change, right? Slightly more. The total market cap at the peak in 2017 was 700 billion. Total market cap in 2021 was 3 trillion. So the total market actually grew by factor of 4.5 times. And so if there's a crazy parabolic, early bull run like we saw with Link, and it's Injective that's doing it, because obviously it's Injective and Celestia that are actually at all-time highs, they can easily go to 4 billion, 5 billion, easily. Now, it doesn't mean they go straight there. The market's more efficient and a little bit more difficult. It gets more difficult with every cycle. But that's the target. That's where they're going, in my opinion. That's where I'm looking at. Which is probably a $40, $50 Injective and a $20 Celestia. Right? $20, $25 Celestia. And so, trading-wise, I think on the next dip, or just consolidation, whatever, I think these are the ones to focus on. They will suck all the air out of the room, right? You have to understand, when something takes over, like Link did back here, look at everything else. Down, red, right? Their 7-day performance, red. Link, up 90%. Everything else, red. Everything else, wrecked. That was what happened with Luna as well. Luna's biggest run came in 2022 when everything else was completely wrecked. Remember this? 2022 in like late January, right? You had Luna, which was by this point, it went even later than that. Luna was going up in February. 49, must have been March. Jeez, they really pumped it late. There we go. It was up at 87, right? When the rest of the market was down or red. Bitcoin was all the way down to 37. Luna was sucking all the air out of the market. And so it's much more likely that the market just chases Injective and Celestia. And this signals, by the way, fucking alts are going to pump too. Don't worry about that. Alts will still do well. But the main focus of the market here is probably going to be Celestia and Injective. I say this over the next, few weeks. Because if you remember, I talked about the biggest runners from the early run. Link, Solana, Injective, that had performed well on the way up. Well, Solana is still doing quite well. Link is still consolidating, but Injective, when it went for the breakout, I said, watch this. If this breakout holds, it's good for the market. Well, it did more than hold. It's ripped higher. So the market's still bullish. It's still risk on by the looks of it. And I think that when these get to price discovery, Celestia is already in it. Injective is kind of chopping around at its all-time high. This is where you want to allow them to run. When it gets to above all-time high and there's no resistance, that's when it can do its biggest runs. So Keep an eye on that. And I'll do a deep dive later on. The ultimate guide of top signals coming later on Market Research, live, 5 p.m. UTC. See you then.